The call will be recorded.
Hey, JR, it's Arwen.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Super. Everybody, I'm Arwen of Tarot by Arwen, and I'd like you to meet JR Rivera, the creator of Beautiful Creatures Tarot and other decks coming that we're going to talk about. First, I want to show you all a couple of the pictures that JR is the author and mastermind behind this deck, and Jasmine Becket-Griffith is the artist. Here's an image of the back, and I just love it because it's Medusa, and y'all know I'm a Medusa fan. But look at this. Look how adorable she is. Now, she's just perfect. Why did you rename her the Mage from the Magician? Was there a particular reason you did that?
Well, I guess it was for, I didn't feel that it was necessary to call a female magician a magician. So I wanted something more that'll be more fitting to her archetype, a mage, a female magician.
Perfect. Perfect. I love it. I mean, she's really wonderful. And then we're going to look at another card because you have renamed one of the cards what I prefer. I keep telling people it's the older name of this card, and it brings a whole new meaning to it. And it is, of course, what we all know as strength, but you've renamed it as fortitude, the fortitude. And why did you choose to do our little, she looks like Durga to me. Is that who she's supposed to be?
Yes, that's Durga.
Yeah. So why did you choose fortitude over the more common strength?
In some ways, I feel that fortitude sounds more, not sophisticated, but it sounds more like it should be there, like it should belong. Because when I hear the word strength, I figure like physical strength, and that's not what I wanted people to incorporate that card. I wanted them to incorporated with fortitude, inner fortitude, because fortitude to me is an umbrella of both physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual, while strength to me is just basically physical strength.
Perfect. And that's really on target with what I talk about when I tell people when I am working with them as a client. Now we're going to look at another one. You've renamed this one. This, I've actually seen this one used somewhere else. It's in the Tarot of the Old Path. You've renamed Death the Transformation. And I'm going to assume you did that because death really is more about transformation than anything else.
Yeah. And also, since this was going to appeal to a younger audience, I didn't want to scare them off with the word death. Because whenever somebody hears death, oh my God, I'm going to die. No, that is not what I want. And I don't want them to get scared because of that. But in a metaphysical sense, in a spiritual sense, death is transformation.
Yes.
It means changing from something different, like a caterpillar to a butterfly. So that's what I wanted to incorporate in the name of the card. That's why I changed the transformation so it could be taken not lightly but with ease, rather than, because I mean I know there's people that they see the devil card and they see the death and tower and they toss them out.
Yeah.
And I didn't want that. I want this to be a complete deck, 78 cards complete.
Well, and for me, the two cards that I look at, and I know most readers have like a couple of cards that you have to look at in a deck, and if you don't connect with those cards, done. I mean, they're a pretty deck, whatever. They're 78 pieces of art, but I can't read with them. And mine are Death, which I love your Death, and the Star. And I really like your Star because of her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what really appealed to me, is those beautiful blue sparkling eyes. But look at this card, y'all. Isn't that beautiful? And she's just a wonderful representation. Were the stars already on her? Did you have to ask Jasmine to add the stars, or was she already as is?
All the images were as is, all of them. So I had to pick images that could relate and correlate and have a connection with the traditional Rider-Waite. Of course, there were some that did not meet the criteria, so I had to find a way to reinvent it. But it was a minor reinvention, but I just figured, it's like I tell people, they tell me, why did you change so many names of the cards? why did you put astrology into the court cards? And I said, I went with the flow. I went with what the spirits and my muses told me, and I just went with that.
Yeah, and I'll show y'all what he means about. Let's see if I've got the court cards here. Oh no, they're on there. I don't have them handy, y'all. I've got wait, there they are. No, I forgot. Schiffer does that thing that just annoys me, and I know they do it for a reason, but they put all the majors, then they put the 1 through 10s, and then they put the court cards. So I have to go back through and fix my decks, but that's me. So, y'all, just so you know, JR and I recorded a great interview, and my recording program didn't capture the video. So we're redoing this. So if it sounds like we're rehashing things, we are. JR is from South Texas, I think we can say easily. Lower Rio Grande, right?
Yes, McAllen.
Yeah. He's actually from a town that's very close to where my mama grew up, called Harlingen, Texas. So that was kind of a neat thing to have that connection. But when you live in Texas, it can take you 2 days to get from one part to another part. So it's a huge state. For those of you who aren't in the States, they talk about how big Texas is. It really is that big. It could take me 10 hours to drive down to where my grandmother lives from where I lived in Texas. So,
Absolutely.
So I've never actually met JR in person, but we met online via a bunch of different tarot communities, because Facebook is a great place if you want to find some good tarot communities and some challenging tarot communities are out there. But I just wanted to share with y'all about his deck, and I'm going to ask him a couple of questions. And the first one I'm going to ask him is, who or what is your creative muse for your art, your creative self?
My creative muses, they vary. I have 3. One of them, I was born under the Capricorn sign, so Capricorn is my creative muse. I also have one particular Spanish muse who I like to call her La Esperanza, which means hope. Because whenever when I do something, there's always hope involved in it. There's always something, hoping that it'll turn out well, hoping that it'll succeed. So that's why I call her Hope. And my other muse is my guardian angel, because basically when you're going to create something, when you're going to work on something, you need someone to watch over you.
Yes.
So you won't get sick emotionally, spiritual, or physically, because when you create things, it takes a big toll on somebody's spirit.
It does. And I think that some people don't always understand that if they're, and I think that we're all creative in different ways. So we may not really grasp how it affects one person or another, because a woodworker, is different from a writer, but they're still creators.
Yes.
So, and that's one of the things I like to let people know is we all create on some level. Tell us about the last deck. Tell us about this deck. What made you want to create a tarot deck in the first place? How did you come to this?
Well, I've been reading tarot cards since the age of 13. And I read them without having a mentor, without a guide, just pure basic intuition. And I accumulated so much information, not from books, from internet articles, from other readers as well. And all that information I accumulated, and I wanted to create a tarot deck and pour my knowledge into it, my version of how the cards pertain to me, my understanding, which is, of course, when somebody does that when they work and they do things their way, there's always going to be people who say, oh, I didn't reason with it, oh, I didn't mix with it, and that's fine, that's fine. But there's always that rule to give somebody a chance to say, okay, this card does not reason. Like, for example, he changed the death to transformation. Okay, let me see why he did it, what was the history behind it. Because when people review tarot decks, they automatically say, oh my god, they changed the card from the lovers to the passionate ones or whatever, and they start just becoming very aggravated and just start saying spiteful things. But why don't you go and ask the creator why they did this, So that's basically why I wrote and created a tarot deck, because I wanted just to pour my knowledge and what I knew about tarot.
Mm-hmm. And this book, y'all, this book it's you can't call it a little white book because it is. I mean, just here on Judgment, look at this full page of stuff, right? And you've got the image of the card. Another thing Schiffer does really well are their books. He's got keywords, upright, reverse, and I really like that you have little phrases for each one. I'm going to read y'all what Judgment says since we turned open to the Judgment. Look at me. You're given a second chance to rebuild yourself and to cherish what you have around you. Use the second chance that I've given you with grace. So he's given you the cards speaking to you, making them very personal. And then the courts are renamed. So we have, let me look here. Oh, they don't follow. Each court has different names. I see. We have the Ram of Fire, which would be the page.
The Ram of Fire would be the, I believe it's the King of Wands.
Oh, okay. And then the Bull would be the king there. Okay, and the twins. So you're putting the. I see what you're doing. Okay, but it's really lovely, and it'll see that would throw me off because it doesn't. I want to have the exact same name on my courts, so I'd have to work with that a little harder. But they're so pretty. They're so colorful. I love that. Now, do you have a certain ritual before you begin your work?
When I work, I like to meditate. I see forward to meditating because, like, for example, when we go on our everyday life, we're like a filter. We just catch and attract so many useless things, people's negativities. And so when I meditate, it's like I'm cleansing that filter so I could do my work more properly, so I can just stay in tune and connected with my stories. Because what I tell people as an author, you do not just write just to write. You have to connect with your characters. You have to connect with your stories. Sort of like an actor, that they have to immerse themselves with the role that they're going to portray. That's how I feel, and that's how I see it as an author. You have to, like, for example, for the Beautiful Creatures Tarot, I did a lot of meditation when I was writing the book, and I had to be on top of the gun and just immersed and entwined with 80 characters.
Yeah.
That was a lot. It's like playing 80 different roles in a film or theater or something.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a lot of work.
I like to meditate a lot, and I do give a little prayer just so I won't burn out or have writer's block in the middle of me writing.
Well, good. Now, what's on your working table now? Do we have projects to look forward to from Rivera Tarot Association? We'll call it RTA.
Yes, I do have a tarot deck. It's my second tarot deck, and it's going to be way different from the Beautiful Creatures Tarot. And, I'm keeping everything under wraps because, things do change. The companion book will be a lot more lengthier. There's going to be more, how they say, it's going to be more meaty. There's going to be more information. And the images, there may be extra additional cards.
Ooh.
Just a bonus I like to give to people, which is why I included 2 bonus cards in the Beautiful Creatures Tarot, because it's my way of saying thank you for giving this a chance and for purchasing it. And the same thing is going to happen with my second tarot deck. Now, my second tarot deck is going to be, and I've told many people, it's like out of my imagination, dreams, and things that inspired me.
Mm-hmm.
And at the moment, the images are going through editing and readjustment, so I don't want to throw something out there, and then when printing comes out, it's a totally different image. I mean, that to me feels like a big ripoff to the people, and I don't want to go through that. So once everything is set in stone, then I'll start promoting and posting images. And there is a third tarot deck in the works that I did sign to work with an Italian author and illustrator. And the Italian author, he published a tarot deck with Schiffer. It's called the Scapini Marini Vision Tarot.
Ooh.
And he's just a fantastic person. Like, his imagination, his plans, and everything is just I don't know. I mean, it's just how can I say? I'm just so like in all with him, and the illustrator who's very talented as well. And so
Awesome.
I have that third tarot deck. Marini, him and I are going to work on the companion book. We're writing the companion book, and Angelo, who's the illustrator, he's going to draw the images for us. His name is Marco Marini. Marco Marini, he's an author, and him and I are going to work on that tarot deck.
Good. Collaboration's a very interesting thing to do. I
Yeah.
mean, I collaborate on my fiction. Well, it's not even collaboration. I co-write. My best
Hmm.
friend and I, we've been friends since we were 16, and we're both hitting 55 next year. So it's been a day or two. But we create together. But I'm also working with Lisa Hunt, and so that creation process has really opened me up to how creatives talk to each other. She's a doll to work with, but it's really interesting because all our artists and authors sometimes see things in different ways, and it's interesting how we bring it together.
And it is the thing with my second tarot deck, the illustrator. Many people think I'm going to work with Jasmine again, and I mean, Jasmine has a lot on her plate. So it is, I mean, I understand completely that she cannot commit to another project.
Sure.
I mean, the Beautiful Creatures Tarot was just a miracle. You know, it's just something, you know what? Okay, we'll work on it. You know, do your thing and let me know. And the illustrator for my second tarot deck, he's a very young artist, European artist. He's a Polish artist by the name of Michael. I cannot pronounce his last name because it's Polish and I don't want to mispronounce and for him to take offense. So he's very talented, and how the way that I did the illustrations was that I drew a script, sort of like the outline, the skeleton, and he did the drawing. He went along with to what it said, and I mean his work is just fantastic, and his receptibility, just able to, I tell him, do this, do that, change it to this, change it to that. Of course, there are times where like, okay, make up your mind. Do you want this or that? And that happens. That happens. Or you know what? I didn't think you listened to me. Or you were supposed to draw something like this. But it's all in good company. It's all in good favor. So, and the same thing with Marco and Angelo. Marco is just very open-minded and just likes to see other people's point of views.
Yeah.
And that's what I admire about him, that he's not, no, it's going to be this way and this way.
Yeah. It's good to have that kind of, particularly when you're working on creative projects, because if you have one person that's a dogmatic stonewall,
Hmm.
there's nowhere to go. I mean, you can't. My creativity is like, stop. So
Right.
I think that's awesome. Now let's talk about what the most challenging thing that you do in the work you do in writing and creating. What challenges you the most?
The challenges, oh boy, there's so many. There's so many challenges. And and I tell people, when someone overthinks so much about the challenges and the what ifs, what if this happens, it'll drive you crazy. But one of the challenges is getting it right, telling your story. I mean, sharing your work with people.
Ah,
The challenges would be not that people, of course, there's going to be really spiteful critics who are going to not only just give a bad criticism to your work, but they're going to drag you in there, like as if it was your fault, like as if they paid you so you can do a project for them, which is not the case. But the biggest challenge, I say that the biggest challenge would be seeing your work done, leaving it halfway and leaving it halfway for so many years. That's probably the biggest challenge, and that's something that nobody wants to look forward to.
yeah, that's a good point. Really good point. Now, what is the most rewarding thing that you do? If we talk about challenges, let's talk about the good stuff. What brings you joy?
The rewarding is when you see the project in completion, when you finish drawing so many images, when you finish writing it, that's one. You look back and say, oh wow, it's like I got this far with my project. But one of the most rewarding, and it is just something so grandeur, is when your work is released and it is published worldwide, and there's copies everywhere, and people start buying them, and they start telling you your book is beautiful. I mean, the minute they say I read your book, it's like, oh my god, that's like probably for me when I received the copy of the advanced copy of the Beautiful Creatures Tarot. I mean, I shed 2 or 3 tears of joy, and because I mean I said I came this far when, people in my life said, "Oh, that's just a fairy tale. No, you'll never be an author. No, you'll never get published. Leave that for the biggies." And just to have yes, yes, it was crucial, but just to hold that. Okay, this is the way I see it. When you publish something and it gets created and it gets released, it's like holding a child, basically. For me, it's like when I held the advanced copy of My Beautiful Creatures Tarot, it was like holding a child.
Yes.
So
I totally get that, because when I had my first fiction book in my hand, and it had been out in an e-print, but holding it in my hand was a totally different thing. Totally get that. So awesome. That's a great joy, and I think you're going to have a lot more of those joys. So, and you're young. I mean, you're under 30, right?
yes, I am.
So, yeah, guys, this is a hot star here. Pay attention to Mr. Rivera. JR, what's a piece of advice, as we're going to wrap this kind of up, but what's a piece of advice you would offer to someone who wanted to be a creative as well? Maybe not in tarot, but just a creative in general.
One advice that I give people, and this is an advice that nobody gave to me, and I had to follow my own advice, is do what you do best. Create what you do best. Do not create for the masses, for people. Just because everybody wants an oracle or a tarot deck of fairies and butterflies, but you want to create something about nightmares and creatures, then go and create your nightmares and creature. I mean, if that's what brings you satisfaction, create what you want. Create what really barks at you. Create what you're calling, and never settle for less, and never give in to other people's opinions or criticisms, because they are just that, opinions and criticisms. There's always going to be those who like your work and those who dislike it.
Yes.
So also, in a word of advice would be for people to keep in mind that they and their projects are not a gold coin that's used to please everybody. That is never going to happen. We're never going to please nobody, just as some people don't please us. So just do your thing and let the rest of the world turn. So
That's beautiful. I love that gold coin analogy a lot. Now, everybody, this has been JR Rivera, the creator of Beautiful Creatures Tarot from Schiffer Publishing. There's a drop down for where you can go get your own copy of this, because, as always, it's got the great Schiffer box, man. It's one of the best things they do. And I've seen more and more tarot decks gearing towards the more solid box. I think they're hearing us. So I'm happy to see that. But I'll put some links so y'all can go find JR. Please go like him so you can follow him. You want to keep up with this. Eventually, he's going to start putting out a newsletter. He doesn't know that yet, but I know this. So we can all keep up with him. As always, I'm going to tell y'all, seek joy, y'all, and I'm going to ask JR to say it in Spanish.
seek joy.
Seek joy, y'all.
Que vosotros encontréis la felicidad.
And that's been the interview today. I hope y'all have enjoyed it. And if you have questions, ask us in the drop down, and I'll let JR know how he can come back and answer some questions if we get some that he can take time out of his busy day to do. JR, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, always. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.